Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to A Time for Truth show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff. It's a pleasure to have you back with us again today. And a lot of you have been asking, how do I avail myself of all the previous episodes in the last few years? It's very simple. You click on YouTube, you find A Time for Truth show, and you hit the subscribe button. We'll love to have you as one of our viewers, one of our members. There's no fee, and you can avail yourself of all the knowledge that we've transmitted and broadcast now for almost 2 years. And tonight, we have a very special show because with our world of technology, AI, and so many advances happening every day, that it's a wonderful world, but it's a little hard to pick up with. But on top of being hard to keep up with, the other problem with this rapid pace is the opposite side of the coin, the possibility of catastrophe, and the headaches, and the stress of having your system crash, have your computer get a virus in it, or you can't seem to fix what's going on. I don't know about you, but I've experienced that. And so I wanted to bring on this special guest that we're very lucky to have today. And engineer, let's put on his photos and introduce our guest for tonight, Raul Ramdayal, born in Guyana, South America. He's a married father of 4 and owner of DNTLIT, one of the largest dental technology companies in North America. Let's put on the next picture, engineer. There you see him with Dental IT, and this company has over 20 years of professional IT experiencing, helping 5,000 dental clients, several hundred computers at least under care, and Mr. Ramdayal holds a master's, there you see him again, he's got a great smile, in computer science. And he was the first of 2,000 Microsoft certified system engineers worldwide. But I want you to get this, at the age of 16. That's correct, 16. So you talk about a prodigy. We're very lucky to have him on the show tonight. Raul graduated high school amazingly at 14 and actually graduated with his master's degree by the age of 20 years of age. Unbelievable. There you see him. Very well-spoken, very handsome man. His mantra is offering value-oriented solutions that help clients obtain maximum benefit, a job well done, and I think one of the things that we all want, at a reasonable cost. So Buddha, if you will, I want you to put him up on the screen live and let's bid a warm welcome to Raul Ramdayal. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Fiakoff. It's a pleasure and it's an honor to be here in your show. And it's an honor to share knowledge because I think that's knowledge is power. So I'm excited to be here and I'm excited to share my journey, where I started and where I'm at now, and where I want to help our fellow doctors and anyone that's listening how to make use of technology and the journey where technology came from to where we're at now, and we're moving at lightning speed, as you know.
Absolutely, and there's a lot I want to cover. But first I want to ask you, because it's amazing how early in age and how quickly you've accomplished so much. So one of the questions I had is, how did your early years shape the person that you are today?
Well, I'm from South America, Guyana, a small country, population, 650,000. Came from a small family, just me, my sister, mom, and dad. But what I was lucky, it's because my dad and my mom were both teachers. They both taught in high school. My dad was a math professor, mom, English professor. So at an early age, they actually embedded education in us. Like, this is the key we're going to give to you. We're not going to give you a lot. We'll give you a solid education, and then you have to run with that. So this is how, my journey started.
Well, I got to tell you, because after all my education, one of my biggest realizations is that I had studied so many things, but I really couldn't do anything with them. I had gotten very good grades, but it led me to a realization that what's really important is what your parents had said, is not just to memorize, but to have an understanding, which obviously you do, because I can see how much you've accomplished. So, but I wanted to ask you before we get too far into this is, how was it that you took what you had and now then you decided to become an entrepreneur in this dental IT industry?
Well, Doc, for me, it's, I saw, niche market, but not only that, but I saw what dentists needed, what small business needed. And I figured, there was so much that I can bring to the table. Not only that I wanted this to turn it into a business, but for me, it was giving back. All this knowledge that I observed, how can I give back small businesses? Because I saw small businesses were struggling, and I'm like, how do I help them? I can use the power that I have, like a superpower, right? Like Superman. What do I do to give back? And my knowledge, that's what I wanted to give back to pretty much, small businesses and, businesses. And, that's basically when I decided that, what, I am going to form an entity, but it's going to be for the good of use of technology to give back.
It's so beautiful, because one of the things that I personally, this is my opinion, and I don't know how much of the audience would agree with me, but I'm very concerned that we're losing small businesses. I'm concerned that individual entrepreneurs are disappearing. Everything is becoming very, very large and overwhelming corporations. And I feel with that, I get concerned over liberty, over freedom, of the ability of someone like you, like what I've done, to have that in the future. So future generations can have that. And so it leads me to my next question, which is, what is your mission and purpose at Dental IT?
Our goal is to provide quality IT service. Our main goal is to make sure that your practice, it's up and running, secure. Security is the big thing. As we all know, technology is moving at a rapid pace. I remember when I was growing up, I had dial-up connection. You could not get a virus fast enough over a dial-up connection. And now with AI, it's, technology is moving fast and we can move. So how do we stay, ahead, with technology or ahead of technology to protect our small businesses? So that's basically, my give back. So how do I make, someone stay ahead with the technology, but at the same time, protect our small businesses from all the, all the bad guys out there?
Absolutely. You know, that's one of the other things, and you're putting light on something that I feel I'm very concerned about. Is it seems like we always have a fantastic technology that comes out, is born, expands, and then all of a sudden you have all these like viruses and malware and ransomware, and you hear these stories and the security. And to me, it's very, very, very disconcerting, very upsetting, because it takes something so beautiful that
Right.
saves so much time. So I wanted to ask you, because there's so many elements here, let's start out with simplicity. What should a layperson, which I consider myself with computers, what should a layperson know when choosing, let's start with just between computers, because there's so much now. So let's try to simplify that. Tell me.
Basically, our first step is, what is our mission and our practice? We have to understand the type of software that we're using. Based on software, that's how we can determine the type of hardware that will we use. Now that, with cloud technology, everything is being hosted in the cloud, but we still come back to having that technology in-house in order to connect. So we'll start with type of software we're using. What's our purpose? What are we doing with this technology? Is it being used for graphical designing? Is it being used for, creating, cases? Is it being used for, digital art? That's the first step. What is our goal? What is our mission? What's the function of our business? What type of business we're running? What type of business you have? So these are all the questions I like to go in and go, tell me a little bit about your business. Tell me a little bit about what you're expecting out of this technology. And then based off of that, I can prepare something, the power, the specs, the processor, the memory, a server, based on those questions.
Absolutely. You know, I think that's so important. Now, let me ask you a question, because to me, I don't understand this. I know it exists there. I know I could do backups there, but I've never really understood who controls it, how it's made secure, and whatever. So explain a little bit to all our viewers, what is the cloud, and who actually is controlling the cloud? How is it that it's just there? Because I always say to myself, well, you have to have somebody put it there. So explain a little bit about this with the cloud and how it's there, who's keeping it there. It just seems too vague to me.
That's a great question. Now we get it all the time. We go like, is it really the cloud that something is sitting up top in the sky? No, it's not. It's a bunch of guys like me. We're all hosting physical server in something called a co-location, which is a secure data center. So we have millions and millions of computers all over the world, and then we're connecting them all together, and that's creating a cloud basically. And data is shared across from different state, different continent, but this data is really living in someone's, you know, facility that's being, housed for in case there is a catastrophic, disaster, nuclear, but it's really protecting data locally and on Earth, not in the cloud, but it's local here,
Okay, well,
in someone's office.
let me ask you a question, because our world right now has conflict going on in various continents. And so when you give me that information, I say to myself, makes sense what you said, but then how are all these nations who can't even seem to get into concordance on food, on trade, immigration? So where is this facility that you're talking about, or do we even really know where it is?
So it's public information where all these facilities are, and we can look this up. Facilities are held in there, like in the United States. All our data is basically housed in the U.S. If we have partnering countries, we will cross-platform that data now. But for the most part, the internet, as in the www.com, that's housed in the United States. So we have colo, which is co-locations in Texas, New Jersey, Miami, Vegas, different data centers. So our data are spread across through all our states, and that protects it because now we have redundancy. So that is not sitting in one location.
I
So if something happens, to New York, oh my God, we're not in trouble. It's okay. Our data is being replicated across several different co-locations, and that's what makes this safe.
Very interesting. Well, you explained a heck of a lot more to me. I understand it much more now. And so now, what's important then? Let's go to the next question. I think most viewers have, most entrepreneurs, whether they be in the dental field like I am, and you're servicing, or whether they be in any field, real supermarket,
Right.
clothing store, or what, really any, or bank. How does someone achieve cybersecurity?
So our first step, there's a layer. It's like let's use our front door. That's the first entry to our house, our front door. So I would compare that front door with something called a firewall, which is your first entry. So every small business, any business should have a good lock in their front door, which means they should have a good firewall. That's our first step. So as you get through that front door, how do we protect our jewelry, right? Our belongings. We should have pretty much an antivirus software that protects that safe. There's a combination lock. So that's our safe right there. That's our security. That's our antivirus. And that's what protects our computers. And with that proper training, we have to educate our staff. If I get an email from Dr. Volokov, I am not going to click on that email right away. I'm going to look at it, look where it's coming from. But that's all. You have to educate our staff. Like, you have to tell them once in every quarter, we have a meeting with our clients and all their staff. And we're going, guys, if you see an email come from Dental IT, here's the first thing. Click here, look at the email, make sure that it's really coming from Dental IT, because these guys are getting so good. They can spoof your email. They can spoof your phone number. So those are our first step. Front door, once you get into that house, make sure you get a safe. Make sure you put a good combination in that safe.
Very interesting. Very, very good. Because you know what? It's amazing what you were talking about, that I've gotten a number of those emails, and they're really excellent, except that now I realize when they're kind of like a catastrophe or something to cause myself to get alarmed, my antennas have gone up. And then I take a look more closely, and I see that there's certain other factors in it. You're 100% right. So let's go to the next question. Probably most people have. I know I've had this question. So how do I know that I'm really doing a good backup? Yes, I know to buy a remote hard drive, or I plug it in and blah, blah, blah. But I know our viewers probably get busy like I do. So then,
Sure.
and then, God knows, and time goes by, or you have to run out somewhere, or you come back from vacation, so how do we know? This is the question I was going to ask you. How do we know how to avoid the pitfalls of a data backup? And what are the options that we should choose when we're doing a data backup? Explain that to us, please.
That's a great question, Doc, and I'm glad you asked me that. So basically, the first step is to get a good IT company, because everyone, as a profession, we're busy. We're busy creating great smile. We're busy operating in someone's heart. We're very busy. We don't have the time to look at our backup to see if it's going off, to see if it's tested. So our first step, we like to implement a local backup in the system, which is being sent to us every day. We get an alert. So there's an alert that's going to 120 of our technicians. If that backup fails, we get an alert. If that backup didn't go off, we get an alert. If that backup gets corrupted, we get an alert. And then every quarter, we put a dummy file in there. That dummy file gets deleted, and then we restore that backup, because we've seen it a lot of times. We've gotten call, not the type of calls we want to get it from a new client, but we're like, hey, Raul, we lost our backup. Our IT guys can't retrieve it. My first question, was it being tested? Was it being monitored? So first thing is to do, get a company that will look at this for you. Will monitor. It's like your alarm, right? You pay ADT to monitor your system. You don't look at it. You don't monitor it. ADT is looking at your alarm. They monitor it 24/7. So we have systems in place that would monitor your system, monitor your hard drive if they're going bad, because a lot of times you don't see, that's a moving part. It will go bad, but we have a system that's going like, hey, are you good? Are you okay? Are you hurt? And then if it's something goes off, we get an alert. Goes to 120 guys, red flag up in the air. Dr. Felikov, hard drive is going bad. I give you a call, Doc, hard drive is going bad. Wow, how do you know? We're looking at your system 24/7.
Wow. Well, I can see that's be very crucial for a business. I can totally understand it. I want to play a video that you sent us. Engineer, if you could, let's play the video that Raul sent us, which is a very nice video. Let's put that on. Go ahead. Beautiful. I love watching it because I feel like I'm being empowered, like I'm going through being trained as Spartacus or Gladiator or something.
That's our goal. That's our goal.
I can see that. You get that vibe. So I want to ask you, so how should someone prepare for disaster? Because I know one time I had a disaster in my office with my network, and for a week it was really heartache. So how do you prepare for disaster?
So our thing is like, don't wait until disaster strike to implement, and to answer your question, to implement fail-safe securities. So the first thing is make sure we have it. I tell all my clients, the first thing, make sure there's good backup, because if there is great backup, guess what? We can recover anytime. So the first thing I would do when I go to the office, I would not look at anything. The first thing I would do, show me your backup. Tell me how you're backing up your data, because that's crucial. You lose that data, you lose everything. So that's the first thing we would do in a small business. We will implement good backup. But also, what happens if something happens to that building? So we like to make a local backup, and then we push an off-site backup for catastrophic event that will happen: a fire, sprinkler burst, all the computers are covered underwater, a flood. So we push a backup in the cloud. That backup now, it's making a snapshot of your entire office and it's putting it into the cloud. So you go, hey, Raul, our office just got flooded. That's not a problem, Dr. Falikoff. I can call my guys and go like, can you boot Dr. Falikoff's server up in the cloud? And within 30 minutes, you have that entire office in the cloud and ready to work.
Wow. So what you're saying is you back up actually everything. So what happens is even if you lose every computer, you can actually, from the cloud, run your office.
Correct.
Wow. That is like, that I didn't realize. That is totally amazing. And wow, that's just a wow. So
that technology is there.
You know what? That relieves a lot of stress. And, I want to ask you a question because I see the way you operate. So what was it that led you to decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to become a leader in this IT community?
So I'll tell you a story, and so when I was in college, I remember going to college, and, that time there was CompUSA. I don't know if Dr. Phil, you remember CompUSA back in the days?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
So, my mom took me to buy my first computer. It was like $10,000. I can get a super mainframe for $10,000 now. I can get an entire office for $10,000. So I got my first computer for $10,000. I was in an engineering program. I was starting to become electrical engineering. And I had a failed part in the computer. I went back to CompUSA. The guy's like, it's going to cost you $2,000 to replace this part. I'm like, I just spent $10,000. I don't have $2,000 to replace the part. So there was the Aqueduct, which is in Queens, and they had a small computer show every Saturday. So my dad took me over there, and I went to the guy. I said, I have this part that's damaged in my computer. Do you sell that part? He's like, yeah, it's $50. I said, can you show me how to put it in? He's like, here you go. I'm like, no, wait, is it that simple? I'm like, okay. So the next week I switched my major. I'm like, look, I'm getting into the technology field. I cannot have someone being taken advantage of like this here. So I want to get into the IT field, and I want to help businesses.
Absolutely. Makes total sense. What do you envision as the future when you look at it, you go, okay, this is what's going to happen with IT.
So AI, as we know, everything is being controlled with AI now. AI could be an advantage to us, could be a disadvantage. But for more as an engineer, I think we can take AI and we can use it for the better of good and to making our life easy. And, it can think 10 step ahead of us, at least with all the data that's available out there. And it's going to be to our benefit. But like anything, Dr. Velikov, there's, we have this power and we have to take it and use it for the good of society.
Absolutely, because it's interesting because there's been so many movies in the past that we thought were like in the future. I remember, 2000 Space Odyssey, and when, the computer wouldn't let him back, Hal wouldn't let him back into the spaceship, and he finally got in and had to dismantle Hal, the AI, on that space station. And
So
there's been other ones. Go ahead.
No, AI is here to stay. AI has been around, but it is learning at a pace that, again, we as human, we can't keep up. But which is why that we have to harvest that power and put it for the use of good and to help, with with everything that's going on with the cure of diseases, surgeries, transplants, and we can harvest all that power for the greatness of good.
Absolutely. It's been such a great show. I want to ask you more questions, but we're really almost out of time. So I wanted to ask you, what concluding statement would you like to leave the viewers watching this show out there on whatever it is that you feel is important? Go ahead.
So guys, I feel if you can dream it, you can create it. That's what I want to say.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that, Raul. And you know what? It's been a pleasure to having you on the show. And for those of you watching, if you need something, here you got him. Raul Ramdayal, DNTLIT. You can look that up on the internet. DNTLIT. I'm sure he can help you with whatever business you have. And for those of you out there, let's heed his words. Let's make sure we prepare. I know I'm going to prepare. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you for having me on the show, Doc. And I hope I sent enough information to everyone that safety, security is our number one priority.
You told me, I tell you that. So all of you watching, I know feel much more secure. Have a great night. We'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth show. Be well.
Be well.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got. But the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet